I'm going to tell you about Danny LaPlante because this story, it takes a horrible turn. Right after that, so 6 months earlier, burrowed a hole in their wall in the basement and was living in their walls. He snuck into their bedrooms and was flicking the underside of their bed. Like, this guy was asking to get caught, he never did. And during the parole hearing, they determined that he's arguably one of, if not the single most sociopathic member in the entire prison system. And while he's out on bond, he sneaks into another family's house. And for reasons that we still don't even understand now, he murdered 3 of the 4 people in that family after living in their walls. And I'm going to tell you about Danny LaPlante because this story, it takes a horrible turn. This is already bad, but it gets exponentially worse. So Danny LaPlante was this 16-year-old kid, and he clearly had humongous issues, huge issues. 6 months earlier from when he's discovered in the wall, he had had some sort of fleeting interaction with Tina Bowen, the 15-year-old. Apparently, he made some sort of move on her and he felt rejected. Tina didn't recall it at all. They apparently went to school together, but she does not have a memory of interacting with this guy ever. You know, it's like, I didn't even know that he felt that way about me, but he felt spurned by her. He felt rejected. And the way he handled his rejection is he snuck into their house right after that, so 6 months earlier, burrowed a hole in their wall in the basement and was living in their walls. And what he was doing is, by the way, he did not have access to their whole house from that hole in the basement. He only had a little crawl space in the walls in the basement. He was leaving the crawl space all the time and just wandering their house with the family there. He was spying on the family 24/7. And then at a certain point, when the girls went downstairs and they had that seance, Danny could tell they were having a seance to try to contact their mother. And all those tapping sounds he made were intentional. He was trying to pretend to be their mother to make them feel like it's mom. He was the one, he snuck into their bedrooms and was flicking the underside of their bed. Like, this guy was asking to get caught, he never did. But it was him pretending to be their mom. And then eventually he mixed it up and decided to be evil and pretended to be a malevolent spirit. So this guy's completely psychopathic, right? So he gets arrested and he's put in jail. And 10 months later, as he's awaiting trial, he is given bond. He's allowed to leave jail. Yeah, he's given bond. That's the framing, right? Yeah, bond. And while he's out on bond, he sneaks into another family's house. And for reasons that we still don't even understand now, he murdered 3 of the 4 people in that family after living in their walls. And now he's currently in jail, and he recently was put up for a parole hearing, and he was rejected. And during the parole hearing, they determined that he's arguably one of, if not the single most sociopathic member in the entire prison system. So that's the story of Danny LaPlante.
Damn, how did he kill the other family?
He drowned them.
He drowned them?
I believe the mom was strangled and the 2 children he drowned.
Jeez.
Yeah. And so if you look at this guy now, if you look at videos of Daniel LaPlante now, I mean, if you were to imagine somebody capable of doing that, that's what he looks like. So, not good, dude.
How do you find this stuff?
Well, that one's pretty well like publicized, I suppose. So
People know about that.
Yeah, but the thing that, and this is not to like toot my own horn, but I think that the thing that I will do to stories that I think brings them to life a little bit is there are stories that are told, you know, by loads of people on loads of accounts and channels and movies and TV shows. But a lot of time there's sort of like a formula for how each one gets told. For example, this is completely random, but like Roswell, New Mexico. I don't even have the story in mind, but the way that story is often told is Roswell, New Mexico is like where aliens by the government are like kept, you know? Mm-hmm. And like, that's how you start the story. And then you sort of back into it. And that's how everybody tells that story. If I was going to tell, and I'd never done this, a story about Roswell, I would start with some anecdote that led to this theory even existing. I would start with somebody's experience in real time that was potentially paranormal, and then I would begin to connect it to Roswell in some way. Maybe the government comes in after the fact, and you know, suddenly the sighting this person saw, the government's asking questions, and it turns out it's the agents from Roswell, New Mexico. And so I like to find a way to tell a story where the payoff is only at the end. You know, it's like, especially in true crime stories, which we do a lot of, so many times when you tell a story like that, it becomes one, fixated on the antagonist, the killer, because they're the most obscene, they're the most memorable in the worst ways. And you lead with like, today I'm going to tell you the story of the murder of so and so. And so going into it, you sort of already know what the story is, and you're fixated on the killer. And so the way I tell these stories, it's designed to be like you're in the POV of the normal people that are meant to feel relatable to you. The people who, like the Bowen family, were in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's all. That's it. And the other family that were killed, the Gustafsons, wrong place, wrong time. I want you to inhabit their point of view and have the killer be almost anonymous. And this is a story where Danny LaPlante gets really named, but the killer, or like the bad thing that happens, always needs to feel like sort of this thing that always happens in a Mr. Ballen story. It's this ambiguous bad thing. It's the character in the story that I can relate to. I can like feel their emotions. That way, by the time the bad thing happens, it's like heart-wrenching. You're like, oh my God, like I feel for those people, you know? So that story gets told a ton, but it's often told with, I'm going to tell you the story of the guy in the wall.
Man, we do a phenomenal job.
Thank you. That was a long one.
Holy shit. Living in the wall?
Yeah. And you know what's crazy is like,
This guy had parents?
I think he did. He was a very, I don't quote me, I want to say a very dysfunctional family, if you can imagine. So, yeah. But there's actually, these are far less good stories, but there's a shocking number of, because we researched this stuff, shocking number of people that have found people living in their walls. And honestly, it's not like you can live in someone's wall. It isn't like your walls magically connect all over your house. That's not really how it works. But there are definitely instances, especially in like major cities, of like squatters finding their way into these apartment complexes and different people's homes. Like actually, this is not even a full story, but there was there was a movie based on this, and I'm not prepared to tell this whole story, but there was this apartment complex, I want to say it was in New York, where there were all these people getting killed. Like just in this massive like Section 8 style housing, like people packed on top of each other, super big high rise. All these people were getting killed. They were just turning up dead in their apartments. And, you know, nobody knew why. They just would be found dead in their apartment, sort of inexplicably. And it would turn out that the way this apartment was built was really, really cheaply. In particular, the way they insulated the walls between each of the different units. So in essence, if you wanted to, there was a way from, I think, the basement where you could get into the inner workings of you could get into the space between every single apartment. There was effectively like scaffolding, very narrow. Oh my
gosh.
And even worse than that, every single apartment, their mirror was just placed into the drywall. It wasn't anchored at all. And so these dudes began sneaking into people's apartments by just climbing inside of the wall, like this high-rise building, and punching open the mirror. Now they're in your apartment and killing the people in the apartment and then going back in through the mirror.
Jeez.
Not good.
That's definitely, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Living in the fucking wall.
And there was I don't know if this one was true or not, but there was one about, in a way, it's sort of not heartwarming at all. It's bad, but it's the closest thing to heartwarming.
I don't know if you have any heartwarming stories,
no,
John.
This one is like, there was this guy who I want to say, this might be, I don't know if this is a true story or not, but it's a great, you can probably look it up. It's one of the more viral clips that's out there. And I think it's true. There was this guy who, he lived in the city, he was in New York, and I think he shot content for like a vlog or something. I don't think he was a big influencer or anything, but he was a type of guy who like filmed himself a lot. And there was someone put together a compilation of all these videos of him. Over the course of these vlogs he was doing, he was mentioning that he's like, man, it's the weirdest thing happened to me last night. Like my toothbrush was like on the other side of the counter, you know, little things that in the vlog, he's clearly not making a big deal out of it, but he's saying them. He's like, that's so weird. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like it just, here and there, he just mentioned that there were all these weird things happening. He lives alone. He lives in a big apartment building in New York. And he eventually starts to like question his own sanity. He begins to say to his followers or whatever you want to call it, he's like, something weird is happening to me. Like I keep forgetting where I'm putting things. I keep buying things and they're like disappearing, in particular food, and like weird stuff is happening in the kitchen. And so he eventually sets up a camera in his kitchen. It's a very small, like New York City apartment kitchen. And he sets up a camera. And, over the first couple of nights he's filming, nothing happens. He doesn't even know what he's looking for. Like he's not going to, oh, someone's living in my apartment with me. He's just like, what? No, am I sleepwalking? Like, what am I doing? And then there's this one clip it's gone crazy viral. It'd be easy to find. It's the middle of the night and this cupboard opens and this little woman climbs out of the cupboard and she's like looking around and she goes over to a sink. She hasn't even got off the counter yet. And she squats down and pees in a sink. And then she jumps down and she goes to his fridge and she starts eating all this food in his fridge. And then she like goes around the house. She comes back with like a toothbrush, sure enough. She like cleans her teeth, puts everything back. And then she goes back into the cupboard and puts everything back. And the guy discovered it and he was like horrified.
This is real too?
Well, I don't know that I've seen this video and I believe it's true. And this guy did an interview for it. He was like, yeah, it turns out in that cupboard, you could basically climb up like into the ceiling of the apartment and hide. But it was this woman who, and this is the heartwarming part, if you will, I think that she had no money, she was down on her luck. She was this elderly woman who had literally walked into his apartment when he left the door open one day and just like magically found this hiding spot and had been there for a year. So he was living in this one for a year. It's like crazy.
Holy shit, dude.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.